God is a romantic. It's in his blood. The closing image in the scriptures is of the wedding of heaven and earth. The prophet John sees the city of God prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband, end quote. From the beginning of the Bible all the way to the last page, it's like God just can't get enough of Ahava. And we are exactly the same. After all, we're made in God's likeness. Romance is hardwired into our DNA. We grow up, girls and boys, dreaming about that someone on the horizon. But what's shocking to me is that so often when we actually get into a relationship and the fantasy becomes a reality, we're clueless on how to go forward. I mean, we're inundated with culture's dogmatic vision of what a relationship could and should look like. And we know it's a warped picture. The problem is we just don't have a better one. It's like we're flying blind. We don't know what Loveology looks like. By that I mean we don't know what relationships pre-marriage look like for followers of Jesus. It's a long walk from hello to I do, and we don't have a picture or a paradigm, a frame of reference to show the way. That's where the Song of Solomon comes in. For way too long, this obscure, erotic Jewish poetry book has been buried under layers and layers of allegory and hyper-spiritualization. I know some people read it as an allegory about God and his people, and that's fine, but I'm not there. I mean, most of it's about sex. You're saying that's an allegory about me and Jesus? I don't buy it. Now, a good deal of the song is about the relationship between the king and his lover, a working-class shepherdess called the Shulamite. And it's very difficult to interpret. I mean, after all, it's poetry. But all the way through, there are themes that pop up over and over again, glimpses of what a healthy relationship looks like, the kind of relationship God puts his stamp of approval on and says, yes, write that down, put that in the scriptures. It's the picture, the paradigm you need to construct the kind of relationship that will carry you to your wedding day with joy and also set you up for the rest of your life. In the Song of Solomon, there are 4 marks of a healthy relationship. By relationship, I mean love, romance, sexuality before marriage. Maybe you call that dating, maybe not, but either way, here are 4 marks of what your relationship could and should look like. The chase, the line, the friends, and the journey to the day. Let's take each one in turn. First off, the chase. We read this in the song. Listen, my beloved, look, here he comes, leaping across the mountains, bounding over the hills, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattice. My beloved spoke and said to me, arise, my darling, my beautiful one, and come with me. See, the winter is past, the rains are over and gone, flowers appear on earth, the season of singing has come. Arise, my darling, my beautiful one, and come with me. The opening story of springtime love is a vivid picture of a king calling his love out. He comes to her home like the young stag he is, and the first words on his lips are, arise, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me. In fact, he says it twice at the beginning and at the end of the poem. He's wooing this woman, calling her to come away. And that's the man's job, to chase, to pursue, to draw the woman into a relationship. But it's not like the Shulamite is passive in the chase. She's anything but shy. In the opening stanza of the book, she says, take me away with you, let us hurry. She wants the chase. That's how God intended male-female relationships to thrive. It's a two-way street for sure, but it's the man's job to instigate, activate, to take the first step. Why? Because from Genesis 2 on, men are called to lead. It's Adam that is first on the ground in Eden. It's Adam that sings over his wife. It's Adam that calls her woman. It's the man that, quote, shall leave his father and mother, not the woman. In the New Testament, the writer Paul makes a comment about how Adam was formed first and then Eve. All he means by that is men carry an inherent responsibility to lead in male-female relationships. By lead, I do not mean boss around, take charge, dominate, intimidate, or any other stupid thing that men have done in the name of the Bible. I mean step out. And that is scary. Because every time you step out, there's a chance you'll fall through the ice. You risk failure and rejection. You know that feeling when you finally get up the nerve to ask a girl out and she says no. It's horrible. The pain of rejection can be deafening, but rejection is a part of life. Every age, every stage. No matter how hard you try to insulate yourself, at some point you will fail. It's only a matter of time. But that is the beauty of the gospel. The gospel gives you the freedom to fail because you are loved. No matter what happens, whether you succeed or fail, whether she says yes or doesn't text you back, either way, it doesn't matter. Your self-worth doesn't come from any of that, which means you are free to risk, to fail, and to get back up and try again. It's okay. Love is a chase between a man and a woman, and it starts when a man says, come away. Secondly, the line. All through the song, there's this refrain, this chorus that the Shulamite keeps coming back to. It's this: his left arm is under my head, his right arm embraces me. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, by the gazelles and by the does of the field, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. The beginning of this refrain is about foreplay. His left arm is under my head, his right hand embraces me. She is deeply enjoying sex with her husband. But the second part is a word to her unmarried friends, the daughters of Jerusalem. It's a warning of sorts not to arouse or awaken love until it so desires, meaning until the right time, until there's a context for you to play out your desires. We are sexual beings by creation. That's okay. In fact, it's good. God made you that way. But if he made sex for marriage, how do you express your sexuality on the way to marriage? What's okay? What's off limits? Where's the infamous line that people talk about? People ask me all the time, John Mark, how far can we go? And what they are really asking is, how close can I get to sin, to the line, without it being sin? And here's what I say all the time. You're asking the wrong question. The right question is, how holy can we make this thing? How pure can we make this work? To the Shulamite, the question isn't how far can we go, but when can we start? Her advice, and you really should take it, is simple. Don't wake up that part of your relationship until you can follow it through. That means don't go anywhere near the line until your wedding day. She says this not once, not twice, but 3 times at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the poem. In ancient literature like the Bible, whenever a phrase is repeated like that, it's for emphasis. It's the author's way of driving the point home, saying, listen, you need to get this. It will save you from so much heartache, and it will set you up for so much pleasure. Third, we read about the friends. The song is really more like a play than a song. It has characters, the king, the Shulamite, the daughters of Jerusalem, and this mysterious group we don't know much about called the friends. These are other people who speak into the relationship. They have a voice. From the beginning, the friends affirm the relationship as a good thing. The first thing they say is, we rejoice and delight in you. We will praise your love more than wine, speaking of the king. Meaning they think well of Solomon. He's a good man. The Shulamite is on the right track. Later, they help the couple navigate the road to marriage. At one point, the Shulamite doesn't know the king's whereabouts, and they say, if you do not know, most beautiful of women, follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your young goats by the tents of the shepherds. The point is that this couple wasn't alone. A story about a king and a shepherd girl is also a story about her friends and parents and family and village. And they all had a voice, input, wisdom, rebuke, clarification. They were friends. Now, we live in what is hands down the most hyper-individualistic society in the world, in human history for that matter. And for the first time ever, dating has been disconnected from family and friends. How often do you see a couple get together and then go into hibernation? All of a sudden they are MIA, and next thing you know, you're getting asked to be a groomsman or a bridesmaid at a wedding for somebody you haven't even seen in a year. It doesn't have to be that way. If you open up your relationship to people you know and trust, and you give them a voice to speak into your relationship, it will do well. But that means you open up your relationship to scrutiny. You can't hide. You have to be honest and transparent with people about the good and the bad. But they will help you think straight, help you make wise decisions, sidestep mistakes, walk at the right pace. Now, the last mark of a healthy relationship is the journey to the day. We read right in the middle of the poem this: "Who is this coming up from the wilderness, like a column of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and incense, made from all the spices of the merchant? Look, it is Solomon's carriage, escorted by 60 warriors, the noblest of Israel. Daughters of Jerusalem, come out and look, you daughters of Zion. Look on King Solomon wearing a crown, the crown with which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding, the day his heart rejoiced." The first half of the song has a tension to it, a movement, if you would. Solomon is coming up from the desert to the wedding. And the poetry moves and builds and escalates and crescendos to the wedding day. And that's what a healthy relationship is like. It has motion, inertia, cartography. It's going somewhere. All healthy relationships are moving towards or away from marriage. That's the purpose of romance before marriage, to answer one question and one question only. Is she the right one for me? Is he the right fit? Should we spend our life together? 50 years is a long time. Dating to date is stupid. It's a waste of your heart and it's a waste of your time. You're not looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend. You're looking for a husband or wife. Now, I don't think this means you need to stress out over a relationship, like you have to know right away. If anything, I think most couples take dating way too seriously. Relax, it's a cup of coffee. But every cup of coffee, every night out, every conversation, every walk in the park is a movement farther away from or closer to husband and wife. I'm sitting under the St. John's Bridge in the north part of Portland in a place called Cathedral Park. Every time I'm here, I see a couple or two on a picnic. There's something about a park that just says, let's get outside and talk. And people are actually married here all the time. In fact, there's an inscription a few feet away from me on the wall that says, Holly and Daniel married here, right where I'm sitting. I wonder what that day was like for Holly and Daniel, or the next, a week later, a month later, a year later. I wonder what that day will be like for you, your wedding day. So much of the future depends on the present. So much of what happens to you on your wedding day depends on your relationship in the here and now. Jesus tells this story about two houses, one built on the rock and another built on the sand. And in the teaching, the houses are an analogy for how you build your life, what you build your life on. And the point is that if you build your life on obedience to Jesus' teachings, to Jesus' way of life, well, it's kind of like building a house on the rock. It's solid and strong and impermeable. But if you build your house on the sand, meaning if you do your own thing, go your own way, disregard the wisdom of the scriptures, disregard the way of Jesus when it comes to love and marriage and sexuality, well, you're fine for a while. But if and when life comes at you in a time of crisis, in the language of Jesus, when the wind and the waves beat against your house or your life, it will crumble to pieces. Now, Jesus tells this story in Matthew's gospel at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, which is Matthew's collection of the central teachings of Jesus. And the closing line of the sermon is, the rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Haunting way to end a sermon, isn't it? It fell with a great crash. I think about that all the time. I mean, I live in Portland where it rains all the time, and sometimes in the middle of the winter and it's a torrent outside. I wonder, how is this house going to stand? I mean, this bridge I'm under, I have no idea how old it is. It's ancient, but it's still here, standing strong, because there are concrete pillars, foundations that run from one end of the bridge all the way to the other, and they go deep into the ground. That's what Jesus is getting at. That's how you should build your life, deep into the ground. And the fact is that how you are living right now matters. In the early months and years of a relationship, you are digging the foundation. You're setting the stage for the rest of your life together. And if you build well on obedience to Jesus' teachings, if you live in Jesus' way, then you will set your relationship up to flourish, not for a day or a week or a month, but for a lifetime. Dig deep and dig well.